Okay, thank you for joining this morning on this quite interesting topic. So my name is Vincent de Graan, work for Immigration Manager at Santa Fe since 1 year, used to work for law firms, and also I've been navigating through public sector or international relationship from the city of Paris, working from one of the services of the Prime Minister on the mission on expatriation, and been also for 5 years expert at the European Commission while I was working on specific mobility topics. So working between a little bit on the public sector and also in the private companies, which brings us to the fact that this topic is so, may I say, important and quite difficult by the fact that the approach from us, specialists in immigration, the approach from work inspectorate, the approach from border control, the approach from the company side, because there's also is talking about business, about people are going to travel cross borders to do some business activity. We will come back on the definition, or if there is a definition of the business activity, and to see what happened since the Brexit. And I try to be as pragmatic as possible, because sometimes it will be a little bit technical, because talking about laws, talking about legal text, Brexit test, French text. I am not an expert from the UK side. Santa Fe is providing a lot of help. We are present all around the world, especially I've got all my colleagues from London who will be terribly glad to help if any needs about this topic. I've got a lot of information, more about the Brexit side and everything that the UK government has put into place, especially since last year, also with new legislation on immigration and the UK immigration. So let's start. Welcome the people online. I don't know. I stand up a little bit if you don't mind. What was like make it a little bit
more dynamic.
More dynamic. I go back to the text governing Brexit, and you're going to ask me why talking again about this old text. You will see that that is one of the main problem from the interpretation from some of the Brexit tests versus like the French law. Regarding we will see from the UK side, it has been quite listed all the activities that are permitted on a simple business trip, which you will translate by voyage d'affaires. And that is also a problem of the definition of voyage d'affaires and business trip, because sometimes in business trip in the UK, I will talk about that later. We're talking about business trip, including in France, when we're talking about voyage d'affaires, we're absolutely not in the work, not specific in the work condition with work permits and things like that. It is possible, but we will see that we'll have to ask for a specific documentation, which is called a work permit in France. We'll have to do an online formulation, online demand. Of course, the Article 50 of the treaty, that is the key article on the member state to leave the European Union, 2017's decision made by the UK. So, which brought us to the withdrawal agreement of 2019 with the whole, all the transition period, the protocol on Ireland, the citizens' right, the financial settlements. And then here we go to one of the main documents. We often not forget about it, but I think that even work inspectors in France are not totally aware of what was being written and incorporated in the trade and the cooperation agreement. Because in the trade and cooperation agreement signed with the UK, we have all this topic is about business trips. That is has not been quite good linked with what is in our actual labor code in France, allowing to need a work permit, to be exempt of the work permit, and to be exempt of the work permit will lead us to France to do a business trip. Also, I will talk about the visas a little bit later. If we are in a long-term assignment, short-term, of course, we're more talking about business activity, business trip in short-term missions assignments, which brings again to the question, what is the limit? You will see that we are not talking anymore about the same period of time in which you can be under a business trip situation, which is quite different in the UK than it is in the European Union. So the trade and cooperation agreement will be one of the texts I will refer to, and we will see that it's just sometimes just doesn't match, which brings us to all the difficulties, and we're trying to talk about this morning, where should I put my assignee in one category or the other? Do I follow the trading cooperation agreement with all the list, or do I just be prudent and refer on labor law in France for the French side? So, of course, we will start in this British and the Brexit landscape, the difference in between the work permit and the visa, because it's always related to the purpose, the scope, and the application process is quite different. We started to discuss a little bit about the first entry when you do mobility is, if you need visas, to enter the country, to cross border. And in this situation, of course, we need a visa, and it's different from a work permit. Okay, I know you're going to tell, yes, but in the UK, we've got the visitor business visa, which allows to, it's a two-in-one situation where the visa becomes also the work permit. In France, we don't have much voyage d'affaires in which you're allowed to travel. If I'm going to talk about the exemptions, but most of the time it's not a two-in-one situation. We need a visa for a short-term visa. We do the Schengen visa. You know, this is the Code Communautaire des Visas Schengen, who bring us to the fact that we all have the same model of visa for short terms. Then in your form, when we're going to ask for a visa for the Euro for entering France or Europe, we're going to check, we're going to say what will be the purpose of our stay. And just on the formulaire, it's written voyage d'affaires, some topic, tourisme, visite familiale, family visit. Other, I like that one, other, and you can write what you want in it. So sometimes you're posting, I would use that for posted workers, you know, when they didn't know if it was not a business trip, not a voyage d'affaires, but they were going to work, but they were exempt. So we have to show a letter to the consulate to let them enter. Here you see again, here we go. Formalities, administrative formalities, and where, in which situation should I put my assignee when coming to France? And on the other side, also to enter the UK. For the visa, of course, short-term visa, long-term visa, studies, work. The exemption, we see it a little bit later, but it's not only people who are exempt of visa to cross borders. If we have a Chinese citizen who's living in France and do an assignment and works in France and has a normal work permit in France, he has to cross border to enter the UK. He will definitely need a visa. And then we go to ask ourselves, what kind of visa does he need? And is he going to work, yes or no? Is he exempt? And what is the purpose of his stay in the UK? 4 days, 4 or 5 days. You can think it's a real business trip. We're not sure, because in France, we exactly have the same problem. We always ask us, he's coming for 5 days, meeting people, meeting colleagues. But I will always definitely say, wait a minute, is he, how can I?
I think I don't.
Alors, il était là, oui, je pense, si on arrivait.
Wow.
Super, merci beaucoup, sorry. So the work permit is a specific document that allows an individual to engage in employment. So it's usually tied to a specific job and an employer and an industry, and that is especially in the new immigration UK law. You've got a very strict law actually entering the country on the business purpose and the work purpose. And you got a long list of different visa and reasons to enter the country. So we're talking about people need a visa. But then I was talking about exemptions of the visa. But to be exempt of the visa will probably not certainly mean to be exempted of a work permit. If we take the example on the other way around for a UK worker who will come to France, he's a visa waiver, he doesn't need to get, if he comes for 10 days to France, he shows his passport. But what will be his support documents to give the reason why he's coming to France? Is he coming for a posting? Is he coming for a meeting? The famous business voyage d'affaires, with a voyage d'affaires. I don't like the correct translation, business trip. The voyage d'affaires. And does he need any work permits because he's coming to work? Yes, no. Is there a contract that has been signed? Is he going on client side? Is it in the framework, like give an example, service provider international contract, an intra-group posting? Is he exempted, not exempted of any work permits? And then in France, we make the difference between having to be obliged to obtain a visa, which is not the case for a UK citizen coming to France, but is not always exempted of the famous work permit. So the specific changes just told it, you know, before, whoop, you can cross borders, there was no problem, you can work, live like all other European Union citizens. So you didn't need any work permits. On the basis of your valid passport, you could sign a work contract, live, work for the rest of your life in France. And of course, now we entered after the transition period, entering in like French people are foreigners when they go to the UK, and UK citizens are foreigners in the sense of the French immigration law. So I'm supposed to apply the same legislation when they enter France than for Japanese or for Chinese or for a Brazilian coming for a short-term or long-term assignment to France. So put you a few examples for the Brexit context. UK national need a work permits. May need a work, that's just what I say, may need a work permit approved by French authorities, because we have to do it prior to arrival. We have to go online, ask for a work permit, justify, explain to work authorities. And then they have 2 months to give us their answer, which is totally absurd if you take the idea of, I need to go for a meeting next week, and I'm supposed to have a work permit. Of course, you will not obtain your work permit. So we put, and every company will put that people that assign you that worker into the exemption of work permit, or saying it's a business trip, voyage d'affaires, under which on the basis of an invitation letter, which allow that to enter. I will talk about later what the work inspector think about it, because I have the chance in my entourage, they have a few fiscal inspectors, and also work inspectors, and explain how they react actually facing this kind of situation. Is it like, okay, we allow them to be without a work permit, or is there tolerance? Where it's okay for few days, or are they going to consider they need a work permit? Are they considering them to be posted worker or not? We'll come to that. It's perhaps questions you may have in this situation. So here we go. We're still here, and then we go smoothly in more in detail. The definition of a business trip. Okay, business trip. Trip taken by an employee to conduct business. Okay, first for me, it's always like, oh, business. What means business? On behalf of the employer. This involves traveling to a different location, either with the same culture and internationality, to attend meetings, conferences, negotiation, or other business-related activities. Of course, now we're going to check, I've been going to check on the European level, what does European say? Well, the European Commission does not define clearly the business trip, which leads us to be here today, probably, because if we had a clear definition with all the exemption situation, we wouldn't have all this discussion around the Brexit and the need of a work permit and the visas. So we have a few elements in the European legislation about in the Working Time Directive and the Directive 21 on the condition of entry and residence of third country national for the purpose of highly qualified employment, talking a little bit about business trips. Business activity in the Council Directive 2009. Again, also in the proposal of a regulation for amending, introduce business risk concepts in the regulation from 2004. And here we go again, because here we got a sort of definition of trade and the list of activities for which we're supposed to be real business trip and be exempted of work permit. A long list, but quite clear in the UK. I'm not telling, of course, I'm not specialist from the UK. I'm sure perhaps someone wants to add something later during the question and answer session. If you have more information, we'd be glad to share. And my colleagues can also answer to the questions. This is the standard visitor visa, or visa-free entry, of course. If French people are not obliged to have this standard visitor visa. If you're coming to the UK for business purpose, but not engaging in paid employment, not be paid, that is the first element, paid or not during my trip to the UK, or activity beyond what is allowed for visitor, you do not need a work permit. And then the government gives us a full list of permissible activities without, may I say, a work permit, in which you are allowed to do it. And here again, we found a few things when you may ask yourself about like attending meetings, conferences. First of all, again, meetings, I will come back, it's from the French side, which is really important for me to say meetings. Meeting is not systematically a business trip regarding French law. Because a meeting you can be paid during a meeting. You can come in while you're having signed an international contract with the client, so you're paid. Or there's sometimes the reinvoicing system also between entities, which means that you come for a few days and during that time you're not really paid in the country, but your salary is reinvoiced to the other entity. In that case, am I in a business trip situation or a work permit situation? That is all the line is, it's really difficult to, when I do an assessment, it's always, we try to find it, okay, where should I put him? It's always a, if we hesitate, let's perhaps try to obtain a work permit, because we're not sure, because sometimes also they don't know if there's a reinvoicing contractual situation between entities, like in an intra-group mobility, things like that. It's sometimes really unclear to know exactly what meetings. We don't have the time to give all the list. You find all this list on gov.uk. They give us really clear instructions, and it's a good. I think the website is not bad. I think the information has been well done. And unfortunately, on the French side, we don't have left to have exactly the same list. Of course, you don't need a visa if you are a free visa, like for French people. Warning for sure. You have an undertaking paid or productive work. I love this one. Productive work. When I'm attending a meeting in the UK, I'm not productive. Does it mean that I'm in a hands-on situation, working on the machine? Or when I'm sitting on the desk and speaking with people, I'm not productive? I don't know. Is it a contract? Did I sign a contract? Am I speaking with a client? I'm supposed to be productive during, or just sitting like this and playing games on my computer. So I love the productive concept. Providing services. I was talking about the fact that being in a meeting for when after you have signed an international agreement or a contract with a client, a service provision. Temporary employment, well, that's normal. This is, you enter, the sponsorship system with work permit, which is quite normal. You enter in a work contract, one-to-one situation with a company in the UK. You need work permits. So you need the visa, the work visa for you, so because it's a two-in-one. And there are some exceptions. I put them in, beware, this has to be assessed, of course, to be sure. Again, what I say, in every single detail to know what's going on for the permitted bathing and the intra-compare transfer. We're talking certain roles with multinational companies may qualify for specific short-term visas for intra-company transfer under, again, a list of conditions to fulfill. It's not like, okay, I'm intra-company and I have the right to come. I don't need any work permit. No, again, we have to assess, see the list and see what's going on and if you can apply. Going back to our agreement on trade and commerce, the first document from the Brexit, with quite a specific good list. And here we go. This is fantastic. We never had this list in France anywhere. So we have to refer what's written in the labor code. And what is in the labor code? We're no longer in the immigration topics, okay? Because the immigration code, it's clear. Business short-term, long-term, okay, this is quite clear. Purpose of the stay, that gives you the right to have a certain status in immigration, okay. But what say the French Labor Code? The article L5222 says that every foreign worker who comes to France need a work permit. So the basis is when you're entering France for a long or a short-term stay on a purpose for work, which includes somewhere perhaps attending meetings or joining a group or having a discussion on the contract or not. You are supposed to have a work permit prior to arrival. So you have to ask it before entering. But of course, happy, that puts some exemption in which you are exempt of work permit. So when they put this list on, we were very happy. We said, okay, wow, we can put all our assignees in this one. And been working with Benjamin. I was going to say Benjamin, I refer to him because we've been working together at Athos, and we had to talk a little bit longer about the audit and consulting, which was the one that we were using a lot of time at one moment to be exempt during meetings. So we have this list of sporting, cultural, artistic, scientific events, conferences, seminar, trade shows. Okay. Meetings could be cool, but they didn't put it in the law. Well, a cinematic or the visual modeling, if you're a model, okay, a personal service worker, occasional teaching, and audit and consulting, IT, management, finance, insurance, architecture, and engineering. A lot of companies, we can put them in this exemption category. In the beginning, when they wrote down this article to be exempt, we all said, okay, for short-term business visas, as most of the time they come within the scope of something very technical, or having a discussion on an high-level discussion, or engineering, or management, finance, insurance, engineering, you can put a lot of categories in. And when asking the work inspector in the beginning, when we put this legislation into place, they were quite okay, yes. They thought it was okay to put a lot of people in the exemptions. Since a few years now, when asking the work inspector, they have definitely a much more stricter interpretation of this part of the French law by saying we say they're doing some audit and consulting meetings. Yes, no, okay, let's try. We ask the work inspector. They are there for us also to help us. And I can also used to work with the work inspector. Say, I don't understand exactly what the law wants. Just write to them or give them a call, and they give us the answer. And even a few months ago, again, I've been asking about this point, and they said to me that have they received some more instruction about business trip to be a little bit more strict and to be aware that it's more a work situation, even if they're not paid directly from France. You remember I was talking about the notion of to be productive, and they consider that being productive is in the meeting you are productive. So for them, it's more, if you're not sure you can enter in this situation, better ask for a work permit. So again, here we are, a need from the company. We most of the time try to put them in a sort of meeting situation to avoid to the French side to avoid the work permit, because as you know, sometimes you do the online work permit, you ask for it and you get an answer after 2 days. We're very happy. And sometimes it really takes 2 months. If you need someone to be here next week, how can you proceed? Well, you do a short-term, not short-term visa, but you do the famous invitation letter. We all have the model of invitation letter. We give them that, which allow to cross borders. We take an example. My dear sister Marie. Dear sister Marie is general manager in France, working for an international group in Norway, and the headquarters are in London. And every 2 weeks, she has to cross border because she's involved in some global decision maker activity. She has to cross. She's Dutch. So Dutch, living in France, general manager in France for a company in Norway, headquarters, and so she takes a car, so she's not taking a flight. So she goes to Calais, she takes them, and she knows every border controller because it's always the same people. So now, so probably they're friends now. So what are you going to do this week, Marie? You go, I'm attending meetings, and I told her, next time, please have an invitation letter, because so we can check that you're not doing tourism or something else, not a productive work. But the border control are not supposed to control the purpose of the need of a work permit or not. They're just here to see if you can cross borders. So the same at the other way around. When you enter in the UK, entering France with an invitation letter, he said, okay, you attend meetings. I'm not a work inspector. He's not a work inspector. Border control is not supposed to say, okay, wait, labor code perhaps impose you to, no. Do you need a visa? Yes, no. If you don't need a visa, what are you coming to do in France? I'm coming to do some meetings. Do you have an invitation letter? Yes. That is when you cross the borders. No problem. What's happening if work inspector come on site and see Marie being productive on a project that concerns global, but especially the UK? but the salary is totally paid via France, and there's a re-invoicing from the entity from London to the French one, for the French one to the UK one for the 1 week period or 2 week period. She's pluriactivity. Is she paid in 2 sides? Is it a work relationship? It's a re-invoicing. It's an intra-group re-invoicing. Are we in a, shouldn't she ask for a work permit to be there? And that is always the case. Here we go again. So where où je mets mon curseur? Where do I put it? This level, just above the need of the work permit, or just under it by saying, I was talking a lot with her because do I need? She was asking, do I need a work permit? I say, you probably yes. Are you? Yeah, but I'm not productive. I know that since many years. There's another point. Okay, so no, I'm not laughing. My boss is asking. So we did an assessment, and we saw. And okay, she was attending meetings. She didn't talk anymore about the reinvoicing. I'm not supposed to know. You know what's happening inside of the company. I was more like, you should ask for something more, perhaps not only the entry, the invitation letter. Then each company, it's what we call in France l'appétence au risque. Do I cross this little line by not asking for a work permit? And I admit I put them in the exemption of the work permit exemption on to the UK, exactly the same as this situation, because we have an circular d'application, an application circular in which they explain exactly in which condition you are exempt of a work permit. If you apply it strictly, probably nobody will be exempted of work permits coming to France, even for attending a simple meeting. We're not again about crossing borders. I'm talking about an inspector who will enter the company and will ask, what are you doing here? Attending meetings, invitation letters. Some of them will tell, because one of my friends is inspector, and he said, sometimes you just, if you have time, you just, okay, we know the situation. We know that it takes so long to obtain a work permit, to 2 months, that, and the needs of the company and the needs of the business is that sometimes you just have to go, no, we have a problem with the client, I have to go, I take the train, the first flight tomorrow, I'm at Charles de Gaulle, I have to go to London, Heathrow, or the other way around, and I'm not going to ask for any work permit at that moment. So even from the UK side, it seemed that it's a little bit more clear than the French side. But the French side, if one of us talking to the work inspector about all the conditions and what has been written in the Brexit list, he was really like discovering a text, like meetings. Why meetings? Now you need, are they paid, not paid, productive, not productive? And he was saying, no. I just opened my labor code. I take this article. If you don't want any work permit, try to put it in here. Well, okay, my sister is beautiful, but not enough to be modeling or an artistic posting. I hope she just can't hear me. And yes, like I had this trade show situation, which was fantastic. Within the trade, I take an example. This one is a really good one. Trade show, exempt of work permit. UPs, okay, assessment, you don't need trade. But we're coming from the UK, we're taking the truck with all the material, we're driving, we're entering France, we come to Paris, the Salon, not Salon de l'Agriculture, c'est le Salon, was it the other one? The big trip, and we arrive. So 1 day to travel, and then we put into place our stand. They're not selling anybody. It's more about publicity, be there, the show. For this moment, was good. Then 2 days of trade show, and the 4th day, we have to démonter tout, how they say, we have to withdraw all the material, put it back in the truck, and drive back. And if you read a trade show, it's attending trade shows, or be invited in trade shows, or accredited to trade shows. And I was like, yes, but the period when you're entering France with your truck, and the days when you're putting into place this town, and at the end, when the trade fair, the dates from day to day, the 11th and the 12th, and the 13th, there's no trade show anymore. So I had the great idea to ask the work inspector, how is it? And the answer was just fantastic. They need a work permit for the first day. They are exempt from work permit during the trade because they're invited in the other stand and they're not selling anything. But then they have to go back and to put everything back in the truck. They need a work permit. So I say, okay, should I ask 2 different work permits for the totality of the period? And I was like, asking them, but you know, there's so many people participating in trade shows, and they arrived with their material. This was a big stand, so they needed one full day. It's not like we do with a little, you know, presentation. They arrived with big stand. So okay, we asked for this for the work permits, and luckily for us, it was 3 weeks before the beginning of the trade show, and we obtained. So I asked for 4 days, of course. I'm not going to stay for 1 day, but would be ridiculous. I asked a little bit for more from the moment they entered. I said perhaps they were entered the 12, another 13, you know, like the 10, 11 to 5 days. So it covered the whole period. So in case of an inspection on site, that would be covered by, but normally that would have been exempted for the 2 days. You see that the French law can be so, the appreciation of the French law can be so strange on a real, by the work inspector. And it's sometimes like, okay. And they always answer, if you doubt, ask for a work permit. Well, give us a work permit within the day. It will be great. We can do work, attending meetings. We do the work permits. 1 second later, you can make it on an automatic way of things like that. So you see, it's quite still quite difficult from the French side. Not about the fact of justifying the cross borders and the invitation letters that will allow you to enter. It is more about the fact, what am I doing in France? Am I, of course, again, am I paid, not paid? Am I productive, not productive? Am I working on a topic that's concerning the thing concerning the country? Really important, not only global. Is it reinvoiced? Am I at client site? Also, this probably now, I go to a client site before signing the commercial contract, or I'm coming to France while having signed the contract, and we try to discuss one article of the contract, because we have to do a meeting at how do you say, mi-parcours of the commercial contract. There again, we're entering in another problem. Are they considered as posted workers? Do I have to do a prior to déclaration détachement, prior to work, posted worker notification? Posted worker notification prior to arrival, which means if I do a posted worker notification, okay, we have got worker inside, so perhaps just before I will need, can I do an invitation letter, be an exempt of work permit, and do a posted worker notification? So then I start really to panic at that moment. So I go back to, okay, what's written in the directive on posted? No, workers, nothing. The ICT system, it's long-term, not short-term. Okay, posted, you know, the engineering, and now the engineering, put them in that exemption of work, okay. And then we go back to the instruction, the ministerial instruction on the posted workers in France that has been changed, in which they take this exact example. I'm working in an intra-group situation. I'm coming in an intra-group to attend meetings with my colleagues. I'm on the posting on my own account. I don't need to do the posted worker notification. Wow. So perhaps no work. But perhaps yes, because it's a short term. Perhaps he needs a work permit, but he's exempted of the posted worker notification. But if he comes to see with a client working on the contract that already have been signed, and probably when he's there, his salary is probably paid via the general budget of this international contracts they have signed, he is again productive worker. He's not longer on own account for the company. He comes to see clients. And again, we need to do the posted worker notification. So we come into this like situation, okay, we started from just crossing border to do a meeting. Exact. And now it's just meeting, work permit, exemption, visa, no visa, work visa, which category, am I paid, not paid, productive, not productive, am I posted to France? I'm posted, okay, on own account, yes, and then French is fantastic. Posted on own account, you don't need to do the posted worker notification. You really very happy, but you have to apply full legislation about the posted worker. So I have to apply the core set of rules, including the level of salary, paid leave, leave paid, sorry, the vacancy, the jours fériés, la caisse des congés intempéries, if I need. And we have these 11 points I have to apply to someone who perhaps is totally exempt of work permit, exempt of visa, and exempt of posted worker notification. But in case of control, the work inspector will say, wait, does he have an A1 certificate? Yes, because when attending for meeting, I'm supposed to also have social security, you know, and again, we are entering in categories, but okay, it's not all linked between the labor law, between social security protection law, the social security law. I'm not entering the fiscality problem. I'm not specialist at all in that. You would do the intervention next time. You've been invited to do it. But okay, social protection, labor law, immigration law, fiscality, responsibility of the employer to be sure that when during the 5-6 days in France, he's got protection, he's got social security, etc. So again, we got this whole bundle of every single point of attention. And sometimes, as I just said, do I need a visa? Do I need a work permit? Am I exempt? Not, etc. So what's going to happen from this point? We saw it all. Well, no, here we go again. Sorry, I missed my effect. Oh, you there. The folk, oh God, something new, the HIAS for one side and the ETA on the other side, because work permit, invitation letter was not enough. A prior to working notification in case of posting is not enough. What can I add? Again, my A1 certificate is not enough. So I add documents, the ETIAS system, the fantastic ETIAS system that should have already been in place. Have you been lately to Charles de Gaulle or to the airport? You can see all the little machines are quite ready to put in the electricity to the focus and have all the determination from the ETIAS. But the system was in November, not even before last year, November, December, then Switzerland and France say, we are not exactly ready. So again, perhaps starting from mid-2025, we will have the ETIAS system, which will mean that the British citizens plan for short-term visit, of course, when they got a long-term visa and entered, or their actual residence card because they're already living in France and working, they can cross borders, not a problem. Talking about short terms, because they're exempted. They're exempt of visa, but we put an ETIAS. It's quite a little bit what we also have in the United States. So, a lot of money. And so for travelers, etc., so you will need this European Travel Information Authorization System. Okay. On the other hand, the contrary, for the UK, we have the ETA Electronica Travel Authorization. This is just as it's supposed to be in place, or going to be in place. It's not exactly the dates. The visa exempt that we need to bear, and ETA, the UK Electronic Travel Authorization. I can't say cross-border because cross-border entering the country, because it's not a visa. There's more information to be sure that which is not a bad thing. It's a bit like the United States, because they want to know who's entering. If you're exempt of work permit, you're exempt of everything. You're exempt of your visa waiver. Who's traveling with the enregistrement? Is there something? So this also helped to give this information. And again, my this page and this one page. This is fantastic because they really do well their job in the UK when it cross borders. So my spy, Marie, my sister, was in the car and she was going to the UK. And she came out and there was the border control. And in December, they were giving flyers like there was a big party organized. And really, it was very funny. I said, look. So she sent me the copy. Look, the new flyer. Sorry for the quality. Click on it in there, how it's going to work. And I did really good publicity and information about this system, a little bit much better than the ETIAS system. And we see in Europe asking when, why, how the machines are there, how it's going to work. This is much more simple for the moment.